Behind me here is one of my favourite new boats at the show. This is the Cormate 27 Utility. It's a brand new model, and I've got to say I really love the way they do their boats. There's so much detail going on, there's so much pure thoroughbred racing design that's gone into the hull itself. They are something really quite special. They're also a little bit under the radar, I think, for some people. They're not as well known as the Axopars and Saxdors and so on, but for true aficionados, they are really very special indeed. And I will try and explain exactly why that is. So it is designed by a Norwegian powerboat racer. If we take a look at the hull, you can get an idea of what makes it so special. We've got this flared bow up here, very nice integrated hook for trailing it on a trail boat. We've got these spray rails and triple steps. So we've got one step right forward here, you can just see it there. There's a bow thruster in there too. We've got a deeper step amidships here and a third step right back here. And that helps lubricate the hull. It makes it run more cleanly, more efficiently. We've also got these slightly concave spray rails that trap the water and create a little high pressure zone that makes the whole boat more stable. So although it's extremely quick and very light, it's also a very easy boat to drive relatively quickly. Now it's a Kevlar reinforced hull. That makes it very light but very stiff. The whole thing just weighs about 1,550 kilograms or so. You can have outboard or inboard power, and because it's so light and so efficient, you don't actually need an awful lot of power. Outboard power starts from just a Mercury 200 XS Pro, and even with that, it's capable of around 48 knots. But for the true speed freaks, you can go up to a 570 horsepower inboard engine and a top speed in excess of 70 knots. Personally, I don't think you need to go that quickly, but true speed freaks can go for it. We've got custom built trim tabs, so you've got very fine control of that. We've got a bathing ladder here, custom built aluminium grab rails for helping you in and out of the water. But let's go and have a proper look inside the boat, and I will show you everything about it and why I get just a little bit overexcited when I see a new Cormate. As the name suggests, it is 27 feet long. It has a relatively slender beam. It's just 2.33 meters wide. And the utility section refers to the fact that it's this relatively simplistic and practical walk-around center console design. They do other boats like the Chase 35 here and the T28. They're a little bit more voluptuous. So they're slightly more pragmatic, slightly simpler, and crucially slightly cheaper range. Now prices for this start at what I think is a very reasonable 110,000 euros ex taxes. This particular boat with this engine, this has got an inboard engine, it's around about 150,000 euros. Now if you go for the outboard design, you don't lose this bathing platform. It's almost like an extra little well that's added onto the back there, and that's where the outboard engine hangs off it. But I love the fact you've got a decent sized bathing platform if you want to put your skis or wakeboards on. There is of course a special towing pole that creates a bit of extra height when you are skiing. We've got a bench here. At the moment it's in the sort of rear facing mode, but that also converts very quickly to a sun pad. You literally just lift this backrest over, drop it into place, and then you've got a full length double sunbed for chilling out. But I like the fact that it's just so simple, so reliable, but just as effective as a much fancier, more expensive solution. Just going to swing that back over. And it's all the little details for me that make this quite so special. Just little things like these clam cleats for your fenders. You just put the rope through there, lock it into place. Makes it so easy, both for you and in fact your guests can do it. Aluminium cleats, teak grab rails all around it. Built-in steaming light. Very simple, very cool looking glass screen. But let's get on board and I'll show you some of those details from inside. Now here we've got a storage locker. This one's got fitted with a stern anchor, as they often do in Scandinavia, but you can equally have a bow anchor. Here you can see some of that exposed Kevlar that I talked about earlier. You don't have to leave this exposed, but I like the fact that you can see how the thing is built. But that is the actual woven Kevlar that provides that extra strength. We've got little speakers built in here, drains, and on this side we've also got a storage locker, but look how beautifully this is done. We've got moulded in slots for 4 specially made fenders. Just lovely detailing. We've also got the battery master switch there, and hang on a second, let me just drop that down. We've also got a deck shower, and there are those lovely grab rails that I spoke about earlier. Now, the seats themselves, very nice and very nicely trimmed. They've also got some hidden secrets. If I lift this one, you can see there is a table built into the bottom of that seat. That obviously locks into place there, and then you've got a really sociable seating area. All 4 of you can certainly get probably 6 people around a table there. There's also a fridge here. Keep your drinks cold. There's no wet bar as such, but most of the time you don't actually fanny about grilling yourself anything on the grill. You just want somewhere to keep your drinks cool. This seat here lifts up. This is access to the engine. You've got a couple of strong gas-assisted rams to take the weight of that. And look how beautiful that installation is. That is a 350 horsepower, 6.2 litre V8. Absolutely immaculate engine bay. If you look down here, you'll see even the interior mouldings of the hull have been painted out in metallic grey. Looks fantastic. Now that would be a real quandary for me, whether to go inboard or outboard. Having driven some of their other models, the inboards do drive absolutely superbly because the weight is kept nice and low. The outboard, on the other hand, possibly a little bit easier to look after. It means you haven't got the propeller and leg in the water, so there's no chance of fouling, etc. If you do go for the outboard, then this becomes a massive storage space. Love the fact that they've also put a lot of sound deadening along there. It helps insulate it all, keeps it nice and quiet. Drop that down. And let's go and have a look. Let's do a quick walk around of the decks. It is a full walk around model. We've got nice deep bulwarks on either side. So even though you've got no grab rails, you can use that windscreen to get up onto the foredeck. There is a big sun pad that goes in here, but obviously in utility mode, it's nice to keep that very easy to maintain. There's no fancy cushions or anything you need to look after. Some nice detailing here too. This is in fact a solar panel, so if you keep your boat on a swing mooring, it will keep your batteries nicely charged. You're not going to run huge amounts of house power off it, but it's really reassuring to know that even if you leave it unused on a mooring for a month or so, your battery is going to be kept charged. Swing round, we can have a quick look at the anchor locker here. Lift that up. Now if you do go for the bow anchor, you have a special hinged anchor that swings up and out over the top to make sure it clears that vertical bow. More of that exposed Kevlar here. I think it looks really cool. Little grab rail. And then if we drop back into the main cockpit and have a quick look at the helm station. Now this is one of the defining characteristics of every Cormate. They like to use the proper racing throttle arrangement. And by that I mean you have a separate lever for going into forward or reverse, and a much taller, bigger lever for the throttle itself. And for experienced powerboat drivers, that is what they really like to have. It means when you're running at speed, you can make very quick, very precise adjustments to the throttle. If you really don't get on with that, I believe they will fit a standard Mercury throttle if you would rather have one. Got bow thruster operation here, and I also like the fact that they fit one of these coast keys. I've got one of them. They're effectively a wireless kill cord system. So you put a lanyard round your neck, you start and stop the engines from that, and if you happen to go overboard or move away from the boat, it will stop the engine in its tracks. But it means you never forget a kill cord that you can sometimes do with a conventional manual one. Very simple helm layout. We've got twin Simrad screens, switches for all the key elements, the water pump, the blower, the waste pump, bilge pumps, cockpit lights, and so on. Very simple, very effective. Now, if we swing round to the co-pilot side, one of the slightly unusual features is that you have got this separating bulkhead between the two seats. Just means that you have to access them from the correct side. You obviously can't slide between the two, but that's to make sure that that throttle is exactly where you need it in relation to the wheel. Really supportive seats. They both have big bolsters that fold down. These side supports really lock you in place when you're seated, or if you're standing, then they provide a really nicely angled leaning post. Really works well standing or seated. Got a sliding door down into the cabin. Like the fact that they've bothered to go to the trouble of making it a nice wooden door, just makes it look that much classier. And then drop down into the cabin. Not a lot to see down here, it is all open plan. There are a couple of deck lights in here that provide a bit of natural light as well as artificial lighting. Basic design with a long bed going forward into the bow area. Nice bit of diamond stitch detailing on either side, just adds a bit of class. You can have a toilet in here. They haven't fitted it to this boat yet, it's the very first boat, but effectively there is a heads unit that goes here. It is open plan to the cabin itself and not a separate compartment, but if you want one you can have it fitted, and then there's a bit of storage space under there. So it's not the fanciest, the most voluminous leisure boat you've ever seen, but if you want a real driver's tool, you could do a lot worse than this. Personally, they're one of my favourite boats. I like the fact that not everybody knows about them, not everybody has them, but if you're someone who really appreciates driving, then this is something really quite special. So I hope you've enjoyed this rapid tour. It's been a real pleasure to show you around. Do please let me know what you make of it in the comments as usual. My name is Hugo Andreae. You've been watching Motorboat and Yachting. Thank you for your time.